Oh, it's on now. Yeah. Sorry. Working on the presentation. Awesome. All right, can you hear me now? What? I've always been challenged. Thank you, Chair Nichols and directors, for allowing Cheryl Ju, the Therapeutic Recreation Coordinator, and me to share with you what we've been doing for the last 10 months, and more specifically, what the Therapeutic Recreation Unit and Old Meadows Community Center has, how we've served the community during a pandemic. So just like every other community center, in March, we were told to shut down. And so we stay connected with families through Facebook and through emails and phone calls. And then in June, we were allowed to offer camps. And due to the vulnerability of the population we serve, we were kind of crossing our fingers, hoping for registration. We didn't know what we were gonna get this summer. So the presentation is a nutshell of what we've been doing for the over the last 10 months. I broke it into how we serve the youth, the teens, and then also the adults with special needs. Starting with the youth, well, first, so the Therapeutic Recreation Unit always offers 3 summer camps, one for the youth at Old Meadows Community Center, and then 2 teen young adult camps, one at the Crowley House and one at the Old Meadows Community Center. With the youth camp, it always has a late start into midsummer because of the extended school year. So that allowed us the opportunity to kind of launch some brand new mini summer camps this summer. And we did that with our Camp Junior and our Messy Art Camp. And those went so great this summer. It's a lot of fun. So those went so great this summer that the parents just kept asking if we would keep extending it and do more and more and more of the camps. And as long as we had the resources, we just kept extending that camp. And it worked out because our youth camp, when that was ready to start, the COVID numbers started to rise in the community. And so we saw a drop in our registration and weren't ready to launch our youth camp yet. But eventually we did, and all the camps just went successful. Our biggest challenge is that our summer camps are heavily supported by volunteers. In 2019, we had at least 50 volunteers and almost 500 volunteer hours just within our summer camps. And these summer camps just are really hard to run without volunteer support. So this summer, we really had to decrease how many volunteers that we had so that we would maintain the safety of how many people we were exposing everyone to, and make sure it's social distancing and just had control over the environment. And then we also had a Zumba Kids, and I really wanted to point this class out because it's still running. It's such a great program because it is a collaboration with a local nonprofit, Fit for a Cause, with Cindy Rakowitz. And it just we're able to offer it at a low cost for the community. Next are teens. Before I start with the teens, I kind of wanted to give you an overview of what Old Meadows Park looked like this summer. And I won't tell the other supervisors and other community centers that you guys probably would agree with me that Old Meadows Park is the coolest park in town. And so it is very widely popular and amongst the other supervisors too. So Scott Buchanan, as cultural unit, reached out to me and said, hey, I can't open my camps in the theater this summer. I need a park. So I was like, okay. So we had to work out a lot of logistics for it, but we made it happen. And there were days that we accommodated at least 100 kids at Old Meadows Park this summer. And it was so cool to see that all these kids are out there, but it was just, we had to crank out 100 temperature checks and health checks and just make sure there was no traffic. And it was quite the teamwork between us, but the park was so crowded. and I still needed to run 2 more camps. So we were lucky enough that our peer mentor camp is always held at Crowley House. It's their home, and they clean the house and have their chores, and it's their hangout area and their space. And then we were lucky enough to have the Global Community Center to host our other camp this summer. And it just provided some new space, and so close to Caneo Creek that they spent a lot of time over there outdoors, and it was a really fun place to be. Yeah. Sorry, let me go back. So when I knew I had this opportunity to be here tonight, I reached out to the families and asked them to, if they wanted the opportunity as well to share how these programs have impacted them over the last 10 months. So here is one of the parents.
Having Crowley House open during this busy time has been the best thing that has happened in 2020. We got an awesome goal in school, including socialization skills. It is very hard to work on these goals during Zoom. The CRPD Crowley House has allowed Austin to keep on track and not withdraw. Austin thrives when he's with friends that are like him. We are so beyond thankful for all the hard work Devin and CRPD staff have put into making this camp happen.
So next would be our adults. And to give a little bit of a map, typically if you have a child, they would graduate high school about 18 and then go to either career school or college, and then hopefully move out of the house sometime or another with a job but if you have a child with special needs, you learn that you will have a child forever under your roof. And so typically they would go to high school and then a post-secondary program through the school district until about age 21, 22. And then they go into an adult day program through the regional center. And those adult day programs close down in March as well. And so in June, we had our parents calling us and saying, what do you have for our adult child with special needs? We are going crazy. We need to get back to work. What do you have for us? And so one day I was on a call with Rochelle and Tim, and I was like, well, we don't usually do summer camps for adults, but they can't be home alone, and these parents need to work, and it's it's important for them as well. So Rochelle and Tim are so supportive, and they're like, let's do it. So we launched our first adult social and friends program, and that program is still going strong today. There's 14 registered, and it's recently just found a new home at the Crowley House. So they now have chores every day, cleaning. They take out the trash, and they pick up after themselves and make sure that the bathroom is clean at the end of the day, and just loving the space over there and having their own space. We didn't think that the program would be going to this day, but it is. So that is our adult social and friends program.
The main point in being a godsend at a therapeutic partner lab, which I believe is probably the best program of its kind in the country. I was a board member for the Autism Society of Los Angeles for years, and was also involved in national issues, so I was aware of what programs are available throughout the country. When the virus hit, everything considered was canceled in 24 hours. This is excruciatingly difficult, as Chris's functioning depends highly on having structured, meaningful day-to-day activities. Then Dr. West came to once again with the adult camp. Chris loved it and has made all of this tolerable. As a public health nurse and supervisor, I can say the program is meticulous as far as following public health guidelines for COVID. The kindness of all the staff and wonderful programs have been integral in keeping Chris happy in the community and not a lifetime locked-in institution, as many of the experts told us it is.
So that was summer. Our summer camps were, was a lot this summer, doing all 4 camps plus some extra little camps, and then just having a full load at Old Meadows Park. We do a couple other programs. We do a dance class, virtual games, Zumba, Zoom yoga We're trying to launch some new programs as well. But just the meat of our resources right now are the camps that we do offer. It is really consistent that all the families just say Zoom and virtual programs don't work for their families. They're just not connecting over Zoom and not getting the social interaction that they need and don't know how to follow along.
As a family, it is non-typical for an adult patient of a European country university. I had been home from this registry for more than 6 months. Our daughter was so depressed and we almost became frustrated. Her OCD and anxiety was fully out of control, and we were all miserable. Since starting this program in October, she's had a new turnaround. She is happy and has something to look forward to. It has been amazing to have someone who is for her to go during this pandemic. She loves it and is so much fun. Carolina and Jessica do such a good job with this. We can't thank all the enough in this program. It is truly a bright spot for our family in a time when we definitely need it.
So summer ended, and before summer ended, we actually reached out to our families and said, what do you need from us in the fall? We still have these restrictions of just being able to offer camps and fitness classes. And they all said, we just want what we have right now. We need what you have, what we're doing right now, which is a 9 to 2 camp. So like I said, we still are continuing our adult social and friends program. And then our teen programs condensed into one, and our youth camp both switched over to school camps. And so we immediately learned how to use, the Thousand Oaks CBUSD Canvas and Zoom and Google Meet, and learned who has speech one day and who has OT one day and PE one day. And there's so many logistics, but the families were so flexible and accommodating, and it turned out to be a great program. The schools have now since turned over to blended learning. So the camps still are here today. However, they just kind of shifted hours. So many of the students are now going to school in the mornings, and then they get bused over to Old Meadows and either continue their school day or have a camp day.
First of all, Mary loves her team. She really struggled when things were shut down in March. We saw increased behaviors, anxiety, and overall depression from her because she didn't fully understand what was happening, and she thrives on routine. Once she was able to start going to the care unit, things turned around. She loves having a plan for the day, going somewhere to see people and be social, and having an agenda to write out for the day. She was much happier all around from that thing. She really enjoyed the time there and loved having daily routine. On another note, as a mother of 5 kids, I truly appreciate being able to send her to the school camp to get her schoolwork done. I was having a difficult time keeping up with 5 remote learning schedules, and Mary was falling behind in her schoolwork, missing some gym classes, and not finishing her homework because I simply could not keep up with all of it. Sending Mary to a CRPD enabled her to get more out of her schoolwork and have more supervision with it than I can ever do, with all the other responsibilities I have. She gets the attention she needs and does her homework at camp so we can spend time together as a family when she gets home.
So lastly, as you can see in what the parents stated, that these programs are not just childcare and not just camps. They provide so much. When they started coming to us in June, they forgot how to engage in conversations. They forgot that they needed to get up and eat a breakfast and not just go back to the room and watch TV. They needed to get out of the house and have structure to their day. A lot of them forgot that in public, we have to lock the restroom because, you don't do that in your own home. And so we had to relearn a lot of new things, that the social rules that you don't speak of. And we just saw an increase in their emotional well-being. Families were just able to get back to work and their routine as well. And parents needed a break from their kids, from the challenging behaviors. And so it just provided a lot of emotional wellness for families as well as the special needs, adults, teens, and youth that we provided programs to. So I think that's it. Oh no, last letter.
The TR unit is such an important part of Eva's life, and to be perfectly honest, our family's life. It has always been. We have depended on this program to bring happiness, enrichment, and growth to Eva's life. She has grown up in this program, and I just can't imagine a life without it. As much as we have always appreciated all of the camps, programs, and fun activities the TR unit has provided, it wasn't until the pandemic hit that we realized how truly blessed we are because of all of you. You have always brought a little normal to our lives, but when we need normal the most, it was ripped away when COVID hit our world. However, a light was always shining at the end of the tunnel for Ava. TR unit was still somehow able to provide safe and modified summer programs for our special girl. Ava was smiling and happy despite quarantine. She was one lucky girl. Fast forward to August, and TR unit came through again with the school camp program. Ava was able to attend school virtually with support and fun. Keeping strict protocols, Ava has been able to learn in a safe and engaging environment. Then, when the hybrid model came out, we modified the program again to fit the needs of all the kids. I don't know how you did it, but I'm beyond grateful and thankful. Ava is happy and content in a world that is filled with anything but that. She has had her whole life disrupted because of COVID, but somehow you have kept Ava's world consistent, normal, safe, and happy. Our children depend on you team for your happiness and survival. Thanks to all of you, Ava is thriving, progressing, and happy in such a serious time in our world. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I don't know what we would have done without all of you. I am forever thankful and grateful.
And in my letter to them, I expressed to them that I am thankful for you guys for the support of the Therapeutic Recreation Unit, and that we wouldn't have this unit if it wasn't for you guys. And so thank you guys all for your continuous support throughout everything. So somebody.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Herbert. I'm going to circle around the table here to see if there's any comments, starting here with Director Holt for comments or questions.
Just comments. I mean, that is so impressive what you've done beyond what you used to do to cope with this. It's just unbelievable. And I have it on. I would suggest maybe, I don't know, but I think we should maybe publicize this and let the public know just what's going on there and who's benefiting. The downside would be you probably get more applications than you could handle, but still, I mean, I think the public has to know that this is part of Canarek and Park District, and it's unbelievable. It's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Holt. Director Heffer.
Well, my initial reaction was, wow, what you folks have done. I'm sure it's with a staff of 20 or 30 people who are doing all of this, right? No? Really? Oh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so many of our recreation programs have been reinvented, and the staff have been doing so much to keep the folks in our community active and engaged. But what you and the TR unit have been doing for our special needs population is just absolutely spectacular. I agree with Director Holt that if there is some way of letting the community as a whole know what we're doing so that you guys get credit for this, I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful. One of the earlier meetings I made the comment, you were talking about some of the special activities and socialization activities that the kids have, but made the comment a few months ago that I really missed one of my favorite annual events, the Starlight Ball. And I sure hope that we're well beyond the point come next December that we're going to be able to have that again, because that's such a special event. So for myself, and I think for all of us, I want to thank you and what the folks at TR have been doing for all of the children, teens, and adults with special needs in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to circle around to the video screen to Director Cusworth if you have any comments or questions.
Yes, I'd like to say I'm the same as everybody else, just very impressed with what you're doing. It was very impressive what you were doing when you were not having to worry about a pandemic, and then to be able to adjust. It's a very wonderful and heartwarming thing. I do have a question. I'm wondering, what is the percentage of the children and adults that are coming to your program that are members of the Conejo Valley community?
You mean versus that are out of district?
Yes, I'm just wondering, are most of the kids in district, or do you have about half and half, or how large is your community?
Yeah, I would say 90% are in district.
Because I know of some people who have lived out of district as a school teacher who have special needs children, and when I've told them about our therapeutic program, they were quite impressed, saying they didn't really see that much happening out where they lived. So I know that this is a unique and a wonderful job that you're doing. Thank you very much for the people of our community and those who are able to come out and also participate.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Ling.
Yes, thank you, Devin. Every time we have a presentation over the years on the therapeutic unit, as other directors have said, it just makes us so proud to have this part of our district offerings. And I've asked this question before and sort of alluded by Director Cusworth that other rec and park districts may have some programs, but nothing to the extent that we offer at the different facilities and serving the needs of individuals. And listening to some of those parent letters, readings, this is their kids' I was going to say anchor, but it's their safe haven, and with all this pandemic stuff, that this really provides some secure living for these kids and experience. So again, congratulations. And I too, like Director Hupper, was wondering, did any of the adult participants in the Silver Starlight Ball ask about it this year?
Oh, yes, we got a lot of calls. And most of them were just saying, when will we be able to do it again? When, that's the question of the day every day is, when can we go back to bowling? When can we go back to doing our cooking classes? When can we go, do the Silver Slide Ball? So I do have a little bit of a backup activity I kind of want to do that's related to the Silver Slide Ball to bring the band back and do an event.
Excuse me. Go ahead, Devin.
That's okay. So I do, if we can't have the Silver Slide Ball this year, then I kind of have an idea brewing to bring the band to do an event with the band still. So hopefully we could do something similar if we can't do it. But yes, there is a question every day from participants, when will they get back to their routines of bowling and dances and cooking classes?
One last comment. You mentioned what an awesome park Old Meadows is. And I used to take our granddaughters when they were much younger there. And one of the aspects of that park, having it all fenced in, really makes it a comfortable place to bring your small children, because they can't go running away and get into other areas. But one last story, I was visiting with a young mother, and she had 2 children. She no longer lived in the Conejo Valley. She was like in North Hollywood or something like that, but she grew up a block or 2 from Old Meadows Park. And she said there's no park like it in the valley. And she brings her children there just so they can experience some of the things that she did growing up. So Old Meadows is, one of the jewels in our community. And thanks to our maintenance and all of our landscape people and so forth, keeping it up. That's really great.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
thank you and congratulations to all
Okay.
your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lang. I'd like to publicly confess that Old Meadows is probably my favorite park. I think it's, well, it was our closest park when our kids were growing up. I mean, we've had birthdays there, family reunions, fishing for both crawdads and soccer balls in the creek, playing soccer, playground, taking classes there, everything. Then my daughter, after she finished her social work, she actually helped with the socialization program over there. So I mean, we've had the gamut over at that facility and been there many, many times, hiking, dog walking, you name it all. Love the place. What struck me as I was listening to you, but then also hearing the family comments, was a few terms: normal, routine, and socialization. None of those seem to fit with the year 2020. And yet you seem to have brought that to this group. So thank you for finding a way to make that happen. Obviously a very unique group, and I think a very tight-knit group that you work with. The other thing that struck me is, while you may be meeting the needs of individuals, you're really meeting the needs of families, and probably more so than any program that we offer. Is it's really a family activity, a family event, even though you might be having them for even a large part of the day, but you're really serving the needs of the family. So again, thank you for doing that. I did have a couple of questions. You talked about camps and programs. How do you distinguish between a camp and a program?
So our camps are about 5 hours a day, and they're either 15 hours a week or 25 hours a week. So that's our camp. So that's right now we have 3 camps running, and that's quite a bit of our resources. So it runs from 15 to 25 hours a week, the camps do. And then our programs are weekly programs that are about an hour long.
Okay. And do you find that there's a lot of crossover between those, or you have certain families that stick with one or the other?
Right now, we have those families that are comfortable have built their trust and their safety in us, knowing that we're following all the guidelines and protocols. So we have our adults, we have a large group of our adults that are having a lot of crossover because they're comfortable in our programs and want to do as much as possible. It's really hard for the youth right now, and our teens. We're starting to get crossover in our as we open more sports, fitness classes.
Okay. Okay. And then as a follow-up on you're talking about your young adult program, and my heart goes out to those families, because it is, it's a lifelong commitment for them. And they need that assistance, and they appreciate that assistance. But is there like a age out type of a situation, or as long as they want to come, they're welcome to come?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, with some of these impacts that we've heard about, a lot of times the emotional and social needs are not really fully addressed, especially the media doesn't report a lot of these things. With what you've heard from your families and what you've observed, do you feel that the program is able to somewhat make this routine for your participants, and that they feel that there is a sense of normality, but there's still a challenge when it comes to those socialization skills, the emotional health of those folks? Or I don't know if you feel you're in a position to even answer something like that, but just kind of curious.
Yeah, there are some participants that come to us still daily and says, when are we getting back to these programs? When are we going back to our day programs? So there are some that do understand that this is a temporary thing, where there's some that I've been doing this since June now. This is my new life, and it's my new normal. We have participants that the parents said when they were shut down and before we started programs, their son would wake up every day and say, another day of boring day. And or it was another boring day. So the mental health is back, or it's, we've gotten them back into being able to socialize and look forward to the programs every single day. So, our adult program, They send out a weekly schedule of what they're going to do the next day. And the parents love it because they're like, oh, we put it on a refrigerator, and they look forward to like this day they're doing chair bingo and fitness, and this day they're tie-dyeing shirts. So it definitely is really cool to see the progression from June to now. And yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, because it's very heartwarming to hear and read those stories from the families, because I know it is truly a family activity and a family appreciation for what you do. So again, I know that this is kind of a blend between recreation and social services, what you do. And you really, and art and dance, everything else, you kind of do it all.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I don't know if Ms. Ju was planning to say something, or if she
No, she's
cares to say
it's my support, and but I just wanted to introduce her to the
Well, thank you for coming and being with us.
Chair Nichols?
Yes, Director
I have a
Lane.
quick addendum. You're talking about your children at the park growing up. My very first experience in memory there was when I was coaching my son's Pee-wee 5- and 6-year-old soccer team. My very first game, my opponent was Mike Berger, who used to be a director on the Rec and Park District. And so that was the first time I met Mike, and long time I'm a friend. So he did, but I'll explain that. Chuck might know the situation, but anyway.
Good information. Thank you, Ms. Herbert. Ms. Ju, thank